When's the last time you actually checked in spiritually? When's the last time you slowed down enough to really assess if your spiritual tank is being filled? If I'm honest, this is one of those things that can easily fall to the wayside for me. And I have not done a great job of prioritizing this. If I was going to identify two things right now that I feel like are really struggling when it comes to my overall health journey, it's my spiritual wellness and it's my marriage. And that's hard. It's hard to come to these realizations where we know that we haven't been dedicating time. We haven't been trying to troubleshoot. We haven't been focusing in enough of the energy that's needed and required in order to nurture certain things. And I've come to realize, like, this is the reality of our life. We have different buckets where we have to pour into time, energy, and effort wise. There's actually a process that I've gone through in the past with some of my clients called the Wellness Bucket Blueprint. And this is essentially an exercise where you look at the different buckets of your health, your physical health, your mental health, emotional health, relational health, spiritual health, lifestyle, environment, nutritional health. You look at all of these different buckets and you assess, like, what are you doing in each one? What's going well and what's not? Where are you neglecting things? Where are you essentially unbalanced in some way? And, I don't even really believe in the word balance, but the truth is, like, we have to figure out, where are we not pouring? Where have we been neglecting things? It's so easy to beat ourselves up, but instead of doing that, it's more or less building awareness and then just continuing to get curious. I talk to my clients a lot about this, and I've had to learn this a lot in my own journey, is staying curious, focusing on curiosity versus shame or spiraling into negativity or feeling like you're falling short. Instead, continuing to stay in learning mode and staying curious. That's what I'm personally doing right now with spirituality. And when we talk about spirituality, I know this means something different for everyone. Maybe you're Catholic, maybe you're Christian, maybe you're Presbyterian, maybe you're Jewish, maybe you have different beliefs, maybe you don't believe at all. Regardless of what your beliefs are, there is significant power in attaching yourself to something larger than you, like larger than life, larger than the tangible, larger than what we can see. In my journey, I've learned how profound this feels for having like a larger connection to purpose and impact and mission, realizing that whatever it is that I am being called to do is for a much larger reason that I don't even fully comprehend. And everything that I've experienced in my life as a mom, as a woman, as a wife, as a parent, is all part of something larger that I don't even fully comprehend, but that I need to have faith is set up for a reason. So again, regardless of what you believe or what your exact beliefs are, my hope and prayer for you is that you are attached to something that gives you a sense of peace and a sense of calm and a sense of hope in the unknown. Because let's face it, there's a lot of unknown, a lot of unpredictability, a lot of things we don't understand, a lot of shit that happens in the world, a lot of things that make no sense at all, that we literally cannot comprehend. I don't know about you, but I turn on the news these days and I literally cannot even comprehend the level of dysfunction and sadness and horror that is continuing to happen. It is so overwhelming. And for me, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have an attachment to something that provided hope and peace and some sort of direction in the uncertainty. And so that's really what the purpose of today's message is, and what this podcast is about, is spiritual check-in. Not in an overwhelming way, not in a way to complicate it, not in a way to make you feel like you're falling short, right? It's more about, are you slowing down enough to hear what you need, to hear what might be placed on your heart, to hear the direction that you're being called to go? Like, that is really what spirituality is about for me in a lot of ways. Being calm and still enough in the absolute chaos and craziness of life to hear where you're being called to go. When I think about spiritual wellness, that's what it is in a nutshell. I think about Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. If we aren't still, we don't know anything, let alone God. We have to be still enough to hear our own voice, our own being, and then welcome in other pieces of direction in spirituality. Some of the simple things that I've slowly started to incorporate, very imperfectly, that have helped me continue to kind of fill this spiritual bucket are these 3 things. The first is finding 5 quiet minutes of space every day. And most often, honestly, that's been during the day for me when my kids are at school, when I have a break from meetings, when I can kind of focus in and say, okay, I can take 5 minutes to just pause, to breathe, to hear my heart beat, to not consume anything, to not create anything, to just be, right? No phones, no inputs, no consuming, no emails, just stillness, just quiet. We forget how powerful just being quiet can be. I know I barely feel like I have quiet most often as a mom of 4. We'll get back to our conversation shortly after this message. If you are an overwhelmed and completely confused mom who just wants a simplified, easy to follow, and understandable plan when it comes to their health and wellness journey, then you're in the right place. As a wellness coach, I focus most on empowering women to follow a highly personalized and bio-individual plan that actually gets you results and that feels sustainable for your longevity. I'd love to invite you to set up a free coaching call to talk about your health and wellness journey. Head to erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call today. Again, that URL is erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call. And to make it even easier, head to the show notes of this podcast and click free coaching session to set up your call ASAP. Now let's dive back into the conversation. I've learned then actually taking a moment to ask better questions. Like I said, getting into that curiosity. I think as women, we beat ourselves up. Like we default to, I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. I'm falling short. I'm missing this. We're flipping the script. Okay? We're flipping the script. We need to start asking better questions. We need to improve our internal soundtracks. So when we think about spiritual wellness and filling our cups in this way, I don't want you to default to the negative of what's wrong with me? Why am I a bad this? Why did I miss that thing? Why am I falling short here? Why am I yada, 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 fill in the blank, right? Instead, ask yourself better questions. When you get still enough, you can hear more of what your body and your brain might need, right? And when you get still enough, you can kind of hear more of what God might be leading you to. So when you get still enough, it's questions like, what is my body trying to tell me? What is my brain trying to tell me? How do I actually feel in my body right now? What do I need to change? What do I need to draw a better boundary around? Where do I need to pour into something for myself more, right? All of these things. This is the kind of shift that can move you from frustration to awareness. And at the end of the day, I talk about awareness every single day as a coach. When we think about anything in our wellness journey, it comes down to awareness. Are we aware of our choices? Are we aware of what we're doing every day? Are we aware of our routines? Are we aware of what's actually working and what's not? Are we aware of our energy? Are we aware of how other people are treating us? Are we aware of how we're showing up? If we just go through the motions in autopilot, we're not aware. And that's the problem, especially when you think about spiritual well-being. We can't be on autopilot. This has to be something that we intentionally try to pour into in some capacity. And then the third thing is, again, reconnecting to something bigger. When I get quiet enough and then I start to ask myself better questions like, okay, how does my body feel? How does my brain feel? What is God maybe trying to tell me right now? Then the next thing I move into that gives me so much hope is starting to dream up where I'm headed, what I'm being called to do, being connected to something bigger that I can't even fully comprehend, but I have total faith in. It gives you this place, or it gives you this place to expand. And it gives you this opportunity to dig into gratitude. And again, dreaming. And essentially moving you from this go, 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 I'm surviving to wait, maybe I can thrive here. Maybe I should shift my perspective. Maybe I need to continue to dig into what I need in order to make sure I'm connecting myself to something bigger than I can understand. I get that this isn't necessarily easy, but it's so incredibly important. You know, just like everything in our wellness discussions, everything in the wellness puzzle of things, when we talk about all of these different buckets, spiritual wellness is about starting small and then building consistency, just like everything. And like I said, for me, I have found a lot in the middle of my days lately has been the place where I can get more consistent. It's not perfect. And I'm the first to admit that there are seasons where, wow, I have really let this fall to the back burner. And at the same time, I feel it. I feel less equipped. I feel more overwhelmed. I feel more stressed. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing more. I feel like I am not the person that should be stepping into the calling that is on my heart. The further I get away from practicing this idea of consistent spiritual wellness and filling this bucket. The more I do it, the more I feel at peace, the more I have some level of calm and hope. And I really, truly believe that every single one of us needs more and more and more hope in our day-to-day. Like, it's so easy to just get completely buried and overwhelmed by what's happening in the world around us and by what's happening in things we can't control. And when we think about this specific topic, we can control this. We can spend time with ourselves. We can get quiet enough to create some level of peace and calm. We can ask better questions. We can reconnect to something bigger. And we can actually fill our spiritual bucket in a way that feels good to us. And like I said, I'm well aware that everyone has different beliefs. I'm well aware that everyone has a different path related to faith. My hope is that you figure out how to connect yourself to something outside of your brain. At the end of the day, that is what it is. Like having deep-rooted faith in something that you can't see. Having deep-rooted hope in something that you don't necessarily always understand. Having deep-rooted belief that you are here for a very specific reason and what's been laid on your heart is not for nothing. All of that matters. And we can so easily forget it and lose sight of it when we're buried by the busyness of everyday life. And so I want to encourage you today to do a spiritual check-in. Find some time to get quiet. Be still. Recognize how important it is to connect with yourself so then you can connect to God, to the people around you, to your family, to your spouse. I've had amazing conversations with other coaches about this exact topic, and we forget this as women. This goes back to the basics of connecting with us, connecting with who we are. It's an imperative for your journey. And I just want to encourage you not to skip it. And remember how important it is to fill your spiritual bucket every single day. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I know balancing time and energy can be a challenge, and I'm so proud of you for listening in and investing in your wellness journey. I feel incredibly grateful to connect with you and for the opportunity to share more knowledge, stories, and encouragement related to all things wellness. I would love to hear how this podcast has served you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review on either iTunes or Spotify. Your support truly means the world to me and helps me reach more women just like you and me who are looking to transform their health from the inside out. Plus, when you share this episode with a friend, we invite more women in to learn alongside us. What a gift. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we know, the better we can do. For ourselves, for our families, and our future. Well done on taking the step towards a healthier, happier you. Until next week, stay empowered and stay well.